Hey there, awesome folks. This is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally, folks. I have so missed y'all, of course. Want to make sure that you have what you need in this job market, and I am taking a special close look today at GenZers and how they are being treated in some respect in the job market. Well, we're gonna get started before we jump into the topic here. Let me get some intro music for you. All right. Hey there, awesome folks. This is Mentor Shelley, wanting to make sure that you become a better version of yourself. Of course, guys. If you are here, say hello. Drop a one in the comments. Let me know where you are hailing from. Of course. And I want to discuss this situation. Are Gen Zers not being hired by employers simply because they are Gen Zers or they come from that generation? Why is it that there are some employers that do not take too kindly to that specific generation? We definitely want to talk about it, and I do want to reference a specific article to get the conversation started here. This article is talking about the fact 18 reasons. And of course, I want to make sure that you guys have what you need, but it says 18 reasons. Before we even jump into that, is there anybody here? Say hello. Don't let me say hello. Say how you doing. I am here with you, but I want to make sure that you guys have what you need because you have young people that may have children that is in this age. You guys may be Gen Zers as you're listening. I want to make sure that you have what you need in the event that you may feel that you fit into this category, and we want to address some of we're not going to go through the whole article. I do want to measure it though and make sure that you guys have what you need. All right, guys. So let us get into it right now. All right. So, starting off, of course, you said 8 reasons Gen Z can't get a job and why employers won't hire them. This article was written by Andy Peters from the Boomer Insight. Say across various industries, some bosses are pretty hesitant to hire young workers, especially those from the Gen Z generation. It's not because they don't like them as people, but because of genuine concerns about their approach to working. Here are 18 reasons that so many bosses think twice before hiring Gen Zers. Now, I'm going to have some questions after going through maybe 5 or 6 of these. Tech expectations is one of them. Gen Zers expect to have the latest gadgets and super fast tech at work, so when they walk into a place that doesn't have that, it can be a turnoff. Employers are worried that Gen Zers will get frustrated and bail because they can't work with the next best thing, so bosses aren't keen on hiring them. There's a lot of assumptions in that one. Being too flexible. Gen Zers are big on freedom in the workplace, which is not a bad thing. And they care a lot about flexible work hours and working from wherever. While that might be great, it doesn't always work for businesses that need people on site. This is also true. Like manufacturing or retail. If employers can't give Gen Zs enough flexibility, they might skip over giving them a job. Another one is job hopping. The younger generations are known for job hopping as they don't understand the concept of job loyalty like other generations do. This is worrying to some employers. They worry about turnover and choosing candidates they think will stay longer, even if that means looking at other age groups. I have a very interesting opinion when it comes to that piece of things. Hello, Under the Hood. How you doing? You are a university professor, and this is a timely topic. Oh, absolutely, because they're feeling it on both sides, and I want to make sure that this is an issue that's not overlooked. I really do appreciate you joining the discussion tonight. Great. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Doing great. Of course, immediate feedback. Whenever Gen Zers does something, they usually want feedback immediately so they'll know how to improve in the future. But this is a nightmare for bosses who usually do annual reviews. Well, there's nothing wrong with looking at something else. They might not feel like they can give the constant input at their at their younger as younger workers expect. So they'd rather not hire them. That's not no they're some employers are just lazy. Let's be honest. Um, Social media, of course, we're on social media right now, and that has now become a big factor for this generation. They're growing up. This is the first generation from childhood till now that grew up with social media. So of course, this is being good at social media is a plus, but some employers worry about Gen Zers blending their personal and professional lives online. That has proven to be good and bad on both sides, but we can touch on that in a little bit. They're worried about potential PR issues, and this makes them weary of hiring people who are very active online. It's not only Gen Zers that are active, but unfortunately, because they're the first generation that grew up with social media, they get targeted. In industries where reputation is everything, one wrong post could spell trouble for an entire company. You're absolutely right. Bumble's experiencing that right now. Diversity and inclusion, and I'll stop right here. Diversity and inclusion. Gen Zers are often looking for workplaces that value diversity and inclusion, and I do too. Companies that aren't fully committed to these principles might avoid hiring this group because they don't want to deal with the pressures of changing their corporate culture. I'd be reconsidering that if you're an organization that does not see this as valuable. While they might miss out on new perspectives, they'd rather stick to the status quo. Oh boy. Yes, I am doing very well. Thank you so much, Under the Hood, Dr. Sunshine. Appreciate that. And I'm going to kind of pull back here. There are 18 reasons in this specific article. What I will do is go ahead and put the link for it in the chat so you guys can go through and look at some of the other reasons on your own. But guys, I want you guys to be aware that I do not necessarily agree with a lot of the reasons these particular employers are not, hiring Gen Zers. Let's take a look at number. I'm going to go back. I'm just going to look at the ones that we talked about just now. Okay, diversity and inclusion. I have no problem with, as a matter of fact, I probably would be, as an HR professional, as a career coach, I'm more apt to be a part of an organization that welcomes diversity and inclusion. If you're resisting it, and I'm looking at your C-suite or your C-suite executives, then I'm going to think twice before becoming a part of that organization if it's not diverse. So that's more on the company than it is on the individual Gen Zer that's looking for jobs and wanting to get hired. That's more of an employer situation than it is an employee. Now, social media can be good and social media can be bad and social media can be god awful for either parties involved. It's how you use it. It is how you use it. And I am of the belief that social media can be your friend when you know how to use it right, but social media can destroy your reputation if you do not use it the right way. Bumble with their ad campaign all over the place, whether it be on billboards or it be on their on their social media. Well, of course, they've had to remove some of that stuff now, though what they were trying to market and the ingest, the way they were trying to market, kind of blew up in their face. So this is just one of many. You could be the You could be at the top of the world in 1 second and be completely plummeted down the next, because social media can make or break you, and then they move on to the next thing the next few hours or in the next days. So you have to be mindful as an individual, as a career focused individual, or if you're just starting out. If you're a Gen Zer, you're probably within the first 5 years of your career path, if you have figured out your career path. And of course, if you're still going through that, change, or you're still trying to figure out what is it that I want to be when I grow up, that is definitely something I can help you with. I do have several resources available for that. You can go to mentorshelley.com/book. I do have a book, From Clueless Teenager to Consummate Professional, available for you, if you still have not figured out what it is that you want to do when you grow up, because there are employers, unfortunately, that are taking the fact that you're a part of the Gen Z crew and using that as a reason not to hire you. Some of these reasons are frivolous, let's be clear. Immediate feedback. It all depends on the company, and it all depends on the industry that you're in. I have no problem with not immediate feedback, but there are companies that only give you feedback once a year. But here is what I will offer to Gen Zers and other career professionals. Please do not wait for an employer to do a company review with you. Take the initiative to ask for feedback. You don't have to wait for a job performance. You don't have to wait for a performance review to find out how you're doing. You have to take it up in arms. Your career, your your professional life is in your hands, not in the hands of an employer. It is up to you as a career professional, as a progressive career professional, to make sure that you are checking in. If it means you need to have you say, let's say you have a conversation with your boss and say, listen, I know we only have performance reviews every year, but I want to make sure that I am being proactive with my performance. So if you don't mind, would you mind us meeting every 6 weeks, every 2 months, every 30 days, every 60 days, whatever increment time frame that you can use, you can communicate with your boss. Hopefully you have a boss that's open to it. You don't necessarily have to wait for a job performance review. So I'm going to put this on the career professional or the individual. You don't necessarily have to wait for a company to provide you with a job interview. I'm sorry, with a job performance. You can seek that out on your own. So this is not necessarily on the job per se. This is on the individual to get the feedback that they need. And they need to ask questions and put themselves in a position to be able to win, get privy with projects, things of that nature. So the performance piece, you as an individual career person have control over that. Now, job hopping. Here's what I'll say about this. There's nothing wrong with job hopping as long as when you're hopping from one job to the next, you are giving yourself a raise. Folks, just in case you didn't know this, the big secret in careers, the best and fastest way to give yourself a raise is job hopping. And I don't mean, I would hope you'd want to at least increase your yearly amount by at the very least $10,000. At the very least, you're looking at $30, $40, $50,000 sometimes of a jump. That would be the fastest way for you to get an increase in your economy when it comes to jobs. Now, job hopping has to make sense. And depending on the industry, there's nothing wrong with job hopping as long as you do it right. Please don't job hop and take a demotion unless there's other factors involved to help you jump even further later on. There's always, as long as you have a concrete plan that is going to increase your personal economy, I have no problems with that. So if you're going to job hop, make sure it makes sense for you and is going to increase the dollars that go in your account. Okay? So, of course, being too flexible. Unfortunately, there are some job opportunities that are not as flexible with the schedule or with the location, depending on the job it is. Of course, manufacturing, um, distribution centers, places like that, you're not going to be able to have that kind of a flexibility. You do have to be in certain sectors to be able to have the flexibility to work from anywhere or to have a flexible schedule. That is something you, as an individual, as a career professional, curate and talk about and request, not necessarily just request, but discuss before you actually take the offer with a particular company. Yes, you are looking for flexibility, but you want to make sure that the flexibility is there before you decide to join the organization. That's on you. You have to be proactive in your career and make sure you are joining the right organization, to make sure that the organization is going to be best suited for what it is that you're looking for. And yes, there are employers that don't necessarily, or there are employers. Part of the reason some of these employers are reacting this way, let's be clear, some Gen Zers, and I have personal experience with this, being in the HR sphere for as long as I have been. You have some Gen Zers that have made it bad for others. Some Gen Zers that pretty much just walk off jobs, leave jobs, don't communicate, pretty much are irresponsible when it comes to what it is that they made a commitment to do, which is to be at the job. If you want to quit, if you want to say this job is not for you, then at least communicate that. I have no problem with you, making, exit stage left, but please at least communicate that you're going to do that. Just not walking off, which that adds on to a lot of why some of the employers are resistant in hiring. Tech expectations. There are some companies that still don't have a lot of updated software. They may not have the latest in technology as far as what it is that they use to get the work done. And a lot of those companies, Gen Zers are like, oh, they're antiquated. They still have antiquated systems. I can't work with this. Now, Gen Zers, I'm going to say this: give yourself the opportunity to learn something new. This is on you. Um, they have the systems they have. You're either going to decide to learn, or you're going to decide to, or it may end up having you fumble this particular opportunity. So at the end of the day, I will always say, give yourself the opportunity to grow and learn in any sector, depending on where you're going to be working. Now, these are just a few of the reasons why Gen Zers are being shunned in the job market, because there's some employers that don't want to change for the better, and it would be for the better in a lot of instances, by embracing diversity and inclusion, by embracing more flexible work schedules, may end up working out better for the company as well as the employees, but it all depends on the sector that you belong to. But I do want to ask two questions before you guys head out, before we close off today. Um, I do want to ask this question. Are employers jumping to conclusions about Gen Zers, or is there, or about Gen Zers, or is this their experience with them? Hello, Credit Solutionist. Welcome to the live. It's a little bit of both. Because I work with I work with Gen Zers as well, in my regular job, and I also communicate with a lot of people in the HR sphere, and some of them, depending on the sector and the industry, you do have quite a few people that say that Gen Zers tend to not communicate as well as they should. They tend to just do things based on what they feel versus what needs to be done in the professional space. Um, all right. Under the Hood says most of the reasons they list have some validity. Yeah, I'm not going to say no. That is true. A lot of the employers are used to a certain level of professionalism. And what I will say about Gen Zers is that A lot of them want to go their own way. They want to be more content creators, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a content creator. We're talking about that right now. I know we're creating content as we speak, but there's also a level of professionalism that is expected, that a lot of Gen Zers don't necessarily have, which is why I provide services, which is why the book that I wrote, From Clueless Teenager to Consummate Professional, has a lot of those skills, or a lot of those professional type of professional criteria that can be communicated to Gen Zers, so that they don't walk into an employer and not conduct themselves at the bare minimum, communicate that, okay, well, this isn't working for me. Some of them got an attitude, some of them just think, oh, people will understand, I just don't like this is just not for me, or things of that nature. Dr. Sunshine says, I'm concerned most of my colleagues see a shift in student employees not seen before in decades. Yeah, because this is a different generation. Let's be clear. This is a different generation. They see things differently, which is not always bad. The problem is when they don't understand that there's a modus operandi. There's a way to communicate in professional spaces, and some of them are so young, and if they have not been taught that at home, if they've not been taught that in certain professional spaces, if they've not solicited the services of a career coach like myself to be able to walk them through that process, a lot of times they will unfortunately lose out on opportunities that could have otherwise been procured and taken advantage of if they understood how to operate within the job market as a professional. Okay. All right. Hello, Nicholas Petit. Welcome to the chat. Nicholas says, Gen Zer here. I was promoted at my last job after 2.5 years and was laid off. Showed up on time, stayed late, no excuses. Can't find a job after 1.5 months so far, and others have been looking longer. Nicholas, I will say this to you. I love the fact that, number one, you're showing that you do have the type of work ethic to remain in a position for 2.5 years. Unfortunately, companies, we know this in the job market, especially in the last 6 to 7 months, maybe say a year, that companies are laying off. They're doing it to help their bottom line. Whatever reasons they choose to do that, they choose to do that. I always advise, always stay ready as a career-focused professional so you don't have to get ready. Is your resume sharpened up? Is your, are you working on your interview skills? Does your resume really tell the story of what you've accomplished? What is it that you can offer? And your resume cannot remain the same for every job you apply for, because resumes have to be tailored to the job that you're applying for. Just want to give that tidbit, of course, out there as well. Nicholas says, boomers created younger generations. Of course. I come from boomer, and of course I'm about to tell my age a little bit. I'm part of the Gen X generation. We did learn, we were the ones that computers and internet was something that came around when we were already grown. So we're used to a lot of the things you were born with. So we're not strangers to any of the technology, but we also understood what it was like before then. So, yep. Credit Solutionist says, interesting take, Nicholas. Yeah, and you have to also understand, Nicholas, I would always say, go ahead and continue to do that with other job opportunities that you have. Though that's also great work ethic if you ever decide to start a business as well. So keep that work ethic. There's nothing wrong with that. And you're some of the Gen Zers that I'm so proud of, that you are conducting yourself in a professional manner, showing up on time, and staying late. And it's not necessarily for the employer. At the end of the day, remember your career is going to fund your own personal economy. So whether that particular employer appreciates it or not, you're doing it for yourself because you're making sure that you have good habits. You have good you are conducting yourself in a professional manner, and that's not for any employer, that's for you. So I want you to keep up the great work. Just want to make sure that you know that it's not about necessarily the employer. The Gen X are the Gen Z's parents. Yep, because I have some Gen Z nieces and nephews right now. So part of why I'm doing this is a labor of love to some degree, because I want my Gen Zers to understand that there are some employers that are stuck in their ways. That's not necessarily the place that you would want to be, that you want to be employed by. So it's important to ask important questions when you're going for interviews to see where they are, if they're open to diversity, if they're not, and you have to also do your research before you actually interview for some of those companies. But one other question I wanted to ask, and just based on the conversation we're having so far, the answer to that question is probably going to be no, in a sense. Do you guys think it's the generation? Do they lack the proper employment skills? In some situations, yes. In Nicholas's situation, absolutely not. But some of your Gen Xers are pardon the vernacular, but some of them are a little ratchet in the job place in the job at the job. I'll be honest with you. Being in an HR position now, I've worked with quite a bit of Gen Zers, and some of them I'm just like, Lord have mercy. Help the school children, Jesus, is what I'm going to say about that. But there is hope. And as long as Gen Zers are willing to learn and they're willing to grow, and they're willing to grow professionally, let me be clear about that. They're willing to grow professionally, then it will not be a generation thing. It will be an individual thing, because you have people in my generation that behave like they're not at the age where they can have grandchildren, and they behave rotten and poor in organizations, and you're wondering, how old are these people? 5 when they're supposed to be 45. So let's be clear. A lot of times it's not necessarily a generation. It's about your professional demeanor and how you conduct yourself in a professional environment. But of course, guys, Gen Zers and younger or older, if you are a Gen Zer, then you either just got out of high school, or you've been out of high school for a couple of years. And if you're looking for guidance to be able to maneuver in your professional life, to be able to get yourself set up, you're looking for help in cultivating what your career is going to be and how you maneuver through that, this is the roadmap to do it. You can go to mentorshelley.com/book, from clueless teenager to consummate professional, and 7 steps to getting the career and economic life you want. Guys, I do appreciate you coming. I wanted to make sure that we're looking not just at our generation, whatever generation you belong to, but we want to make sure that these Gen Zers have the proper career tools to be able to function, not just barely surviving in the job market, but be able to thrive in the job market. And that's one of the reasons that this book was created. I do have other services available. If you want to work with me one-on-one, you can go to mentorshelley.com/consultations, where you can get help. I can definitely help you get a career roadmap to getting things underway. And we work together intensely to be able to help cultivate the type of career you want, so you can make your shmoney. Okay? Because at the end of the day, it's about building your personal economy. It's not necessarily, the jobs are there, but they have a purpose, and you have a reason that you want to be able to job hop every couple of years to make sure you increase your personal economy. But of course, guys, if you have other questions, if you have concerns, make sure that you drop a like in the comments. I appreciate all of you for coming by today. Under the Hood, Dr. Sunshine, thank you so much for stopping by. I am going to be discussing Gen Zs a little bit more because I want to make sure you guys have the tools you need to be able to be rock stars in this job market. Thank you so much. Credit Solutionist, of course, and Nicholas Petit. Keep looking if you are looking for additional help. And if you have a resume and it may not be working, I actually will be putting up I'm going to be putting up some free resources on my website. You can go to mentorshelley.com/free. It should be up within the next day or two. And I'm going to have some other free resources for resumes and cover letters in the event you're looking for some of those. Of course, if you want me to do those for you, then of course you would hit me on the consultation links. Guys, I appreciate you stopping by. Under the Hood, Dr. Sunshine, Credit Solutionist, Nicholas Pete, and anybody that is joining the replay on this video. Thank you so much for coming and stopping by and discussing Gen Zers and the job market and how it is that they're being treated. At the end of the day, I want you to know that this is mentorshelley.com/ making sure that you become a better version of yourself professionally, but you want to make sure that you are doing what is necessary to procure your own personal economy. All right, guys, take care. You have a good one. Bye.